on Texas football post-game press conference. But before we get to Sark's comments, look what the cat drug in. Alex Okafor, Super Bowl champ, Longhorn legend, joining us. Alex, before we get to Sark's comment, I know you got other stuff to go do in the building right now. Want to ask you what you thought of Texas's win over Michigan, bud.
Yeah, a really impressive win. I think a lot of UT fans knew going in that we had a chance to win and dominate this game. I think it was something else for us to actually see it. Like, it's easy for us to say it, but it's different for us to see it on the field. And that's exactly what happened this game. I just want to speak on Quinn Ewers. Like, Quinn Ewers has taken his lumps, his bruises. He's heard the naysayers, all that throughout his journey here at Texas. What we saw last week, I think, is Quinn in his final form. This is what we wanted to see from Quinn. This is the guy that we believe can be a top 5 NFL draft pick. And I'm just excited about his development and that he's actually putting it on tape. So those were my takeaways from the game.
Good stuff. Steve Sarkisian actually talked about Quinn in his press conference. We'll get to that in a minute. Alex, I want to also mention, guys, if you don't know, Alex also participates in 2 podcasts. One of them is his own, Beyond the Face Mask. Check that out, as well as Third and Longhorn. We appreciate you stopping by and checking in with us, Alex. Thanks, man. Have fun today, buddy. All right, before we go further, hook them, Alex. Be good, buddy. Hey, let's go now to the opening, CJ, if you don't mind, of Steve Sarkisian's presser. We have that on tape, and we'll roll it for you guys now.
First of all, I want to give a big thank you to Michigan and their hospitality. What a great environment for that game. And I thought it was a great experience for our fans, for our players, for such a big-time college atmosphere. And just looking around in pregame warm-ups at the enormity of people on the field, and high-level people, and college game day, and Fox Big Noon Kick being on the field. It was a tremendous environment. I was really proud of our players for the poise and composure they played with in the game. And I thought the first drive was kind of indicative of that, where we were stubbing our own toes with a couple of the penalties, but then rebounding and getting third down conversions, throwing the touchdown pass, getting a holding penalty, missing the field goal. But through all that, we never wavered. I think we scored on 4 consecutive drives and really outgained them almost nearly 300 yards, I think, to about 90 or so yards there in the first half. So that to me was indicative of the poise and composure that we played in the game. I definitely thought we played a physical brand of football. We were not perfect. There was definitely missed assignments and different things on our end that we have to get cleaned up. We are not a finished product by any means, but definitely proud of our guys for going into that environment, playing the way that we played together as one as a team. And then, post game to celebrate with Longhorn Nation in that stadium, and what a turnout. I know I referenced this in the post game presser, but what a turnout. To hear Texas fight echoing through that iconic stadium and to sing the eyes with everybody, with our team, was definitely a special moment. So one that we'll definitely hold on to for a while. But that being said, moving forward, we got to continue some of the things that I think we've done really well. I think from a situational standpoint, we're doing some things really well. Obviously, I think we've had 11 trips into the red area. I think we scored 10 touchdowns and a field goal. I think we're +4 on the season right now in the turnover margin. So we're taking care of the ball. Third down rate on offense, third down rate on defense are both where we want to be. So we're doing some of the things in the situational stuff really well, which is in turn helping us from a complementary football standpoint. But there are things that we need to clean up still too. And, for a couple of those kickoffs to get out, our kickoff coverage unit is something we take a lot of pride in. So we got some things to clean up there. And then dealing with when we get leads, having that ability to really put people away late and getting the quarterback on the ground. We did a great job of creating some interceptions and fumbles, which was good. But now hopefully we can get some sack fumbles and things of that nature, and then possessing the football in the fourth quarter. So we're always challenging our guys. We're always trying to find ways to continue to get better. But again, proud of our guys, and heading into this week, we know we have a dangerous opponent. The worst opponents, or the toughest opponents to play, are the ones that are wounded, that are backed into a corner. And UTSA has got a very talented team, really well coached. Coach Traylor's done a nice job there. And they're a little wounded coming out of last week, so we know we're going to get their best shot. We're going to get their best version. And so we got to prepare really well this week like we have the previous 2 weeks, in knowing that, hey, we're going to get their best shot. We need to ensure that they get our best shot.
Great stuff there from Coach Sark. Ready to go, CJ. You had a chance. Let's start with some of the big pieces of what he talked about today that you were there for. You were in attendance. One of the questions you asked him that I thought was really good, CJ, you asked him about the red zone performance for the Longhorns. Mentioned that the Longhorns this year are 11 for 11 on red zone trips. 10 of the 11 have been touchdowns, a complete 180 from a year ago. What did Sark have to tell you and the media contingent there inside DKR today?
Yeah, I asked him basically, what's been the difference? Has it been play calling? Has it been Quinn? Has it just been straight up execution? And Sarkeesian kind of lent more so to the execution. You know, he said it a year ago, there were missed assignments, there were false starts, there were penalties, there were self-inflicting wounds that Texas had to overcome at times in the red area to essentially put points on the board. And, you know, you look at these 11 drives that Texas has had, Bobby, in the red area so far this year. Well, what happened on the one drive that they didn't score? It was against Michigan. It was because of a false start that backed them up early. They missed an assignment on a block to get a safety, a body on a safety the next play, and all of a sudden you're looking at a 3rd and long in which you were previously right on inside the 5-yard line. So he points to execution. Obviously, a veteran quarterback, veteran offensive line. You're in a system now with a lot of continuity there. It should be very familiar, but Texas right now executing much better in the red area this year. And to Sark's credit, I mean, they just simply aren't shooting themselves in the foot as we've seen in years past.
You mentioned, or Sark mentioned in the open there, about being a little concerned about overlooking an opponent, or however you want to put it. He said he used a particular game this week or earlier today to talk about, to use as an example of how you can't overlook any opponent.
Yeah, Sark, he loves showing game clips, Bobby. He does it on Friday of instances that Texas cannot do in games, whether it be, you know, some individual actions that are selfish and hurt the team, and 2 on Mondays and Sundays, getting the team together to kind of recap the week of college football and also to kind of explain what's ahead for the objective this week. And of course, you play UTSA, a team that just lost 49-10 to Texas State, a team in which talent-wise they shouldn't be too far away from, yet they get smoked, right? You know, that I-35 battle wasn't very much of a battle, but he did showcase the Notre Dame game against Northern Illinois, right? You go on the road and you defeat Texas A&M on the road in College Station. You're a top 5 team in the rankings now, and you lay an egg at home. And I thought it was really interesting. He called UTSA a bit wounded, right? You know, and that's, you know, a dangerous team to be playing, a team that maybe doesn't have much to fight for. I know it's only week 3, but you just got embarrassed by a team that should be in your own ballpark for the most part. So to show that Notre Dame game, he showcased, you know, the game-winning kick, the celebration on the field afterwards. He said, listen, we're in a position right now to control our destiny, to make a big-time run at the college football playoff. And even beyond that, this is a game we have to take care of at home. We can't take it for granted and let UTSA hang around longer than they need to.
Got to add this next piece, because I think it may end up being the quote of the press conference. I think we're going to see this splashed across headlines, probably at different newspapers, websites, etc. A little bit of clickbait in some regards, but also a little bit of reality for what Steve Sarkisian wants his team to play like. Nolan Richardson, the former Arkansas basketball coach, would be very proud of this. Instead of 40 minutes of hell, Steve Sarkisian says he wants his team to play and give them 60 minutes of hell. Give people the circumstances surrounding that quote.
Yeah, I think towards a little bit of that second half of the Michigan game, you know, obviously Wink Martindale made a great amount of adjustments in that second half, right? Only 1 touchdown for the Longhorns, but at times, you know, they didn't execute to the level they wanted to offensively. 3rd downs, they didn't see as much success. And defensively, you let up the touchdown late. And I know that was a heck of a football play by Warren Davis and that Michigan offense to find the end zone finally. But, hey, you know, you look back to Colorado State. They were very close to scoring towards the end of that game. Sarkeesian wants this to be a full 60 minutes where whoever's on the field, whether it be the starters, the second string, or third string, they're playing lights out. They're playing sound, to the game plan. They're executing efficiently as well. That's the goal moving forward, 60 minutes of sound football. I thought Texas did a good job of it on Michigan, but you did see moments where maybe the offense lacked a little bit, defense towards the end. Right now, that's being a big point of emphasis inside the locker room at DKR.
All right, got a couple more questions from Steve Sarkisian's press conference for you, CJ. Before we do that, I want to say thank you to our sponsor, Autograph. This segment brought to you by Autograph, the app that curates the best content, tickets, and gear to help you fan to your full potential. Being a fan is a full-time job, so Autograph does the heavy lifting for you. From tickets for big matchups to breaking news, the Autograph app has curated content for all things Texas, all the podcast articles and game predictions you could ever want, including the On Texas Football Show. Use code ONTEXAS to download for free on Google Play or the Google App Store today. Also, I want to mention this. Right now, they have a special going on. Get a signed Vince Young jersey. If it's basically a drawing, fans will need to claim the offer entry with 25 fan coins for the chance to win the giveaway. The entry will be available to claim in the app starting now to the end of the game on September 14th against UTSA. The winner will be listed in the app and notified via email within an hour after it closes. All right, CJ, I'm going back to something else that you mentioned. We looked and have looked for areas of improvement. We talked about it this morning on Coffee of Football, yesterday afternoon. What are the areas? Sark had a few, actually, today that he mentioned areas of improvement. What were the details of that you heard?
Yeah, there weren't many that you could point to, especially not many glaring issues in a big road win like we saw on the road, Bobby. But, you still point to several instances that Texas needs to be better in. I think some of that is communication in the red zone. There were 2 plays in which Quinn turned to a side in which there wasn't a running back to. Post-game, Sarkeesian said, our running backs, quarterbacks have to be on the same page. Running backs got to clean that up a little bit. So that's going to be a big point of emphasis and practice to Shard Choice for Quinn Ewers, getting those rooms in communication once more. He also said, look, special teams, we should not be having our kicker have to make 2 tackles. And granted, he did. Really impressive body-to-body contact there. But that's not something that Texas and Jeff Banks and Steve Sarkisian want to see happen on a regular basis as well. But penalties on the road, and more so, it did get cleaned up after that first drive, Bobby, but you can't be false starting. You can't committing holding penalties that negate points, especially in big games like that later on in SEC play. Those were 2 really big points of emphasis that Sarkeesian mentioned today as well as moving forward. Hey, Texas has a great opportunity here now, Bobby, to capitalize on this road victory. Of course, now they know what it's like to play in front of what is one of, if not the largest stadiums in all of college football, going on the road in front of that environment. He said it's a great building point, and they just have to execute better moving forward.
One other area of improvement that Sark mentioned, perimeter blocking. Thought that was interesting because he said it's just they're a block or 2 away sometimes from breaking a big one. So that was another one. One of the things that a lot of people have been asking about is lack of pressure from the Texas quarterbacks. Not necessarily lack of pressure, because I thought there was plenty of pressure for Texas against Michigan, but actually getting home. And he talked specifically about Trey Moore and what he's meant to this team thus far. What did Sark have to say there that you found interesting?
Yeah, 2 weeks into the season, right? And all we've talked about all offseason, Bobby, is, hey, this edge rushing is supposed to be really good. You're supposed to see Trey Moore, Colin Simmons, Barron Sorrell, Ethan Burke starting to light up the stat sheet. And you haven't seen it all that much, right? Texas got its first sack this week against Michigan from Colin Simmons. Sarkeesian said those sacks will come. The pressure's there. We're getting the interceptions on the back end as a result of that. The Andrew Makuba interception in which Manny Muhammad batted the ball up. He said Ethan Burke was the one that created pressure and got the ball out probably a little earlier than expected. Obviously, Colin Simmons, 6 pressures on 19 pass rush attempts. You take that win rate all the time, Bobby. But for Trey Moore specifically, he said, look, he's being impactful even without getting to the quarterback. That's going to come. Texas hasn't faced a whole lot of opportunities where quarterbacks are sitting in the pocket as sitting ducks, Colorado State got the ball out very early. Even when they went down early, Bobby, they stuck to their game plan of trying to run the football and prevent their quarterback from sitting in that pocket for that Texas pass rush. That was very much the same for Michigan. Now, area of improvement for the Texas defense and that edge rushing group as well, containment. That was one thing that Sarkeesian actually said he was pretty impressed by. Warren Davis was getting outside of the pocket, rolling out to his right, and making throws down the field. That was really the only consistent offense that Michigan had on all of Saturday. He said, if you can keep the quarterback in the pocket, you're going to create negative plays. Those strip sack fumbles will come. Texas is getting close to the quarterback. They will get to the quarterback in these next couple of weeks as they face more teams, kind of dead set on getting those vertical passing, shots down the field.
All right. The final thing we need to talk about is maybe the biggest thing that emerged from Saturday's victory, and that's Quinn Ewers. Sark really was complimentary of his third-year starter in this press conference, CJ. Quinn also just named Offensive Player of the Week. Not any surprise in the SEC for the week 2. Jake Majors, by the way, also named co-offensive lineman of the week in the SEC. They must have seen him pull on that block he made on the Michigan defensive back in the red zone for Jarrett Gibson. What did Sark have to say about our man Quinn Ewers?
Man, he reviewed the tape as he does, right? He's a quarterback whisperer. Listen, Bobby, when you hear from your head coach that there wasn't many opportunities for that ball to be turned over, if any at all, that's a sign of a good day on the field. And for Quinn, that's exactly what Sarkeesian took away from rewatching the game film is he protected the football, he executed the game plan, and when he needed to, he put on that cape and he played a hell of a football game for the Longhorns. One thing I thought was really interesting, he said, you don't normally see the competitive, fiery side of Quinn Ewers because of his cool, calm demeanor, right? You see him very stoic at times, in the pocket, in the huddle on the sidelines. You don't see those emotions kind of rattling over. He did say he is very competitive, and he is that fiery leader inside the locker room, inside the huddle. His teammates know what it means to win football games to Quinn Ewers. And he pointed to that Oklahoma State game a few years ago on the road. He throws 4 picks. It was a pretty ugly game. He said, listen, I saw Quinn, kind of look inside, kind of look himself in the mirror and say, if I don't want to feel this again, it's going to be on me. And what's he done since then, Bobby? I say he played pretty well on the road and in these big games. I know he didn't have 300 yards, but he did tie the record for road games with 300 plus passing yards. But hey, it was a really impressive showing from Quinn Ewers against Michigan. And Sarkeesian mentioned that was one of, if not, the best road performances that he has had as a Texas quarterback as well.
Yeah, he's talking about Quinn Ewers. The thing that I found kind of interesting too is he talked about Quinn and his improvement over time. He said that the turning point for Quinn as a road quarterback was that Oklahoma State game. 2 years ago, went up to Stillwater. The team laid an egg, but Quinn took a lot of the heat for that because he finished below 50% passing, through some interceptions. But that Oklahoma State game, ever since then, John Bianco, sports information director at the University of Texas, put out a quote that Quinn, the last 8 road games, 8-0. So
pretty
not
good.
Bad for the young man from South Lake. Hats off to him and his performance on Saturday. Also, hats off to Jake Majors, co-offensive line MVP. CJ, I'm looking at it pretty up, and I listened to it as well. Pretty upbeat press conference from Steve Sarkisian. No BS, just same even level kind of guy. But it did sound like he had a little pep in his step today. What did you think?
Yeah, I think, again, the team went over some of those big-time plays and moments, the good, the bad, the ugly. And real quick, before I touch on Sark a little bit more, he did show one play that really stood out to him, Bobby, and it was kind of how the tone of physicality was set for the Longhorns in general. You look back early in that first half, Trey Wisner catches the ball out of the backfield, goes for about 20 yards down the sideline. And, this is right after Jaden Blue gets nicked up, and you're looking at Trey Wisner and Jarrett Gibson as really the 2 only backs in that room now that you would rely on early in this football game. And what does Trey Wisner do instead of running out of bounds and preserving himself? Well, he lowers his shoulder and he puts a Michigan defensive back on his backside. And that really helped establish the tone of, hey, Texas is a different football team than what it's been in the past. Y'all might be the defending champions, but this is where and how Texas is going to play moving forward. And Sarkeesian said that was the number one play that stood out to him in the rewatches. That tone of physicality was set there. And I think being able to showcase some of the good, the bad, the ugly this morning, I think that put Sark in a good mood. Of course, it sounded like they had a good practice as well leading into what will be UTSA coming to DKR this Saturday evening.
Yep, Saturday, 6 o'clock, ESPN. We will have more from you. CJ, anything you want to add before we let folks go here on this Steve Sarkisian press appearance?
Not really from Sark, but hey, 2 weeks into the season, Bobby, you have 2 offensive linemen receiving SEC Offensive Lineman of the Week. Texas is ready for the trenches in the SEC play. I don't doubt that for a minute. They handled what will be their biggest test of the year with that Michigan front seven. I think that, hey, moving forward, teams better watch out for what's to come with that offensive line. Credit to Kyle Flood there.
All right. That's CJ Vogel on site. Also, thanks to Alex Okafor for stopping in at the start of this segment as well. For CJ Vogel, I'm Bobby Burton. That's been On Texas Football. CJ and a gang will be back no later than around 3:15 this afternoon for the winning drive with Rod Babers and Coach Bob Shipley. CJ, appreciate you, buddy. Hook 'em, everybody.